Hello! So it's been a few days since my first art market, and I thought I'll share a little bit about my experience being a vendor at this market. I'm using this Miffy as like a little armrest. I put up a story on my Instagram asking you guys if you had any questions or topics you want me to cover regarding this event. I grouped similar questions together to form a topic, and I'll be putting timestamps within this video so you can skip to the parts that will be helpful for you. If you're new to my channel, I sell handmade clay pieces such as keychains, necklaces, figurines, etc. And I also sell character merchandise that I designed based on my original characters. For example, I sell stationery items such as washi tape, stickers, and I also sell plushies and keychains. I have a whole video on part 1 where I show how I prepared for this event and what products I brought for the event. I'll also leave the video link in the description box if you want to watch it later. The market I went to is called Seoul Real Market, and they have different locations. So far I've seen that they have a San Diego location, Fullerton, and Anaheim. This is a monthly market and they're known for vintage goods and clothes, as well as trinkets, cute things, and handmade art. The specific event I signed up for was a special Easter event. It was called the Sunny Bunny Meet, and they had a DJ, a Easter egg hunt, giveaways, and a photo booth. So this event was priced a little bit higher compared to their other events. I applied to this event through their Instagram. They have like a Google Forms link. And actually this was such a last minute decision for me. I applied the day that the application was due. I think I applied like 10 minutes before the deadline. But yeah, they had different options. They had like a 10 by 20 vendor space, 10 by 10, which is the one I did, and a 6-foot table space. I believe the table space was around $75, and the 10 by 10 space that I got was $135. The demographic for this event was mainly teens, college students, and young adults. There were a few kids, older adults, and families, but I would say majority were like young adults. As for customers who stopped by my booth, it was mainly women. And I feel like most of the guys that were at my booth were there because of their partners. Demographic-wise, this market was pretty aligned with my target audience, which is women between the ages of 18 to 35. This event was outdoors and free to enter, so I like that there is like a constant flow of people coming in and it wasn't just like a limited amount of participants. Foot traffic wise, it was really busy between 12 o'clock to 2 p.m. There were constantly people coming up to my booth between 12 to 2, and I made a lot of sales during that time. But after around maybe 3 o'clock, I only got a few sales. So yeah, I'll be sharing how much I made at the end and let you know if I thought it was a worthwhile event to go to. So the first topic I want to go over are my expectations for this event. As I mentioned earlier, this event was a very last minute decision for me, and my main goal wasn't actually to make money. Of course, deep in my heart, I did hope that this event will do well in terms of profit, but I had bigger motivations besides money for this event. This is just to say that there's a lot more to be gained from doing in-person events than just money alone. And if you don't make a lot from these events, you shouldn't be discouraged and instead take them as a learning lesson. So my main motive for this event was to expand brand awareness to people outside my social media following. Number 2 was to get more feedback about my product and prices. Because my brand is run online, I don't really get to experience that genuine connection with my customers. I do get some feedback and opinions through reviews and social media, but it's just not the same seeing people's reactions in person. It was also nice to see a more non-biased standpoint on my products, since almost everyone who purchases from my website are followers. It was nice interacting with people who've never heard of my brand before and just getting that different perspective from the general public. And lastly was for fun and to meet you guys in person. Thank you so much to everyone who stopped by my booth. It really made my day. I even met one of you guys who knew me since my Shushubobo Forever channel, which is a YouTube channel that I started as a kid. I was genuinely shocked and happy to hear that someone has been following me along my art journey all these years. My expectation for this event was to earn back my table fee, which was $135. Since this was my first event and my products are priced on the higher side, I was realistic and didn't really expect too much from this event. Now I'm going to share some strategies that I believe helped with attracting customers to my booth. The first thing was my table layout. I did a L-shaped layout and I did it across the edges of my tent so that it's closer to the walkway. I'll insert a picture so you can visualize what I'm talking about. I was originally going to have a U-shaped layout and have people come into my tent, but I researched what worked for other vendors and it seemed like a lot of vendors agree that a table layout that's faced towards the walkway works better. It's less intimidating for passerbys because they can see your products as they're walking by and they don't necessarily have to commit into going into a enclosed space to look at your products. The second thing I did was I discounted all the prices on my handmade keychains. Most of my keychains are priced at $55, which I know is not the most affordable to everyone. Most of the trinkets sold at these type of markets are priced between like $10 to $20. So in order to make my price more competitive, I priced my keychains at $35 instead of $55. $35 is still considered pretty high for a market like this, but they actually sold pretty well. Pricing is a really tricky thing as an artist because prices for art is mostly subjective and the value for an art piece isn't always determined by its material cost as well as labor cost. And since art is a luxury, there are other factors that influence the price, such as supply and demand. There's also brand recognition, the cultural significance, as well as the storytelling and process behind the artwork. So if pricing is an issue and you don't want to undervalue your artwork, there are other things that you can consider. You can create a few simpler pieces that would be priced cheaper and more appropriate for that market, or you can sign up for more higher end markets such as fine art markets. If you have artwork such as paintings that are priced over $100, you can look into these fine art markets that are more curated and consist of an audience where people are more willing to pay a higher price for art. And another option for selling more expensive pieces would be to host a gallery exhibit. I have no experience with galleries or fine art markets, so I can't speak on that, but I think it's important to note that you should choose your art markets wisely. Research the demographics, location, foot traffic, the type of people who vend at that events before you sign up for an art market. You want to make sure that the market is aligned with your target audience. On that topic, I forgot to answer this question, which is how can you tell if the event is marketed properly? I get lots of invites, but am unsure of. I would say the best way to figure out if a market is worth it is to reach out to other artists who have vended at that event. I heard about this market from another amazing clay artist, Baby Top Studio, and she gave so much wonderful advice, so thank you if you're watching this. If you're too shy to reach out to other artists, you can also see if there's any content about it on YouTube or social media. Other ways to see if a market is legit is to see if they have promotions on their own social media page and see what their stats were in previous events that they hosted. Another question was, how did you promote, as in how did you set up to make yours stand out from others? Since this was my first market and I don't plan on doing in-person events that often, I didn't invest too much into making my booth stand out. This is something I want to work on slowly as I do more events. But one thing I did do was give out free stickers if they followed my social media. There were some people who would have passed by my booth, but because I offered free stickers, that drew them into my booth. And even if they didn't purchase something from me, at least they got to know about my brand as well as have some sort of information that they can look at later on. If they find my art to be interesting on my Instagram, they could always purchase something on my website later on. And this question is unrelated, but I'm going to add this in. The question is, what method do you use to track what you've sold? I use the Shopify POS app, which is the point of sale app. Shopify POS is an app for when you want to sell in person, and it comes together with my Shopify monthly plan for my e-commerce site. Shopify lets me sort out the inventory for each location, so I can separate my online sales with my in-person sales, and I basically just check people out using the app so I can keep track of how much I sold. Now for the juicy part that everyone's been waiting for, and that's how much I made. So I sold a total of 4 Ray plushies at $55 each, 10 handmade clay keychains at $35 each, 3 boba plushies at $25 each, 3 acrylic keychains at $10 each, and 3 washi tapes at $5 each. So that brings us to a total of 23 items sold and $690 in revenue. This $690 does not include the booth fee and all the expenses such as cost of goods sold, as well as sales tax because I included sales tax into the price. My expectations going into this event was to make back my table fee, which was $135. Personally, my idea of a good event would be $500 in sales a day, and a really great event would be $1,000 in a day. I'm actually surprised that I sold more of my higher price items compared to my lower $5 to $10 items. I honestly didn't think I was going to make too much at this event just because my prices are pretty high. I sold 6 of my lower price items, which were between $5 to $10, and 17 of my higher price products, which were priced between $25 and $55. So about a third of my sales were from lower price items, and 2/3 were from my higher price items. My bestseller were the handmade clay keychains, specifically the jellyfish seal. So many people loved that one. And my worst seller was the sakura tree keychain, also known as a cherry blossom tree. None of those sold, unfortunately, but I do have them up on my website if you're interested in getting one. The second most popular clay keychain was the jellyfish keychain. Both the jellyfish seal and jellyfish are bestsellers on my website. The products that sold the most in this market are also the products that are most popular on my website. Okay, so now I'm going to be answering questions that I haven't covered yet. So the first question is, what would you do differently next time? How to plan a first market so it's not expensive. I'm gonna start off with what I could have done different for this event because I ran into a major issue during the event. So the major issue I had during this event was that I couldn't connect my card reader to my iPad. I tested this card reader out 4 times before the event and it paired perfectly well at home. But when I went to the event, for some reason, it just wouldn't connect. I thought it had to do with the Wi-Fi, but I also tried my hotspot and the device wasn't connecting. So I spent the first 2 hours trying to fix this issue, and because of that, I was looking down on my phone for the first 2 hours. I did try to greet people who passed by my booth, and I was talking with some of you guys, but I was just so preoccupied with this that I ended up looking down on my phone way too much. So if you did come up to my booth and I was looking down on my phone, I apologize. I did not mean to be inattentive, just that I was trying to fix my card reader so I can accept payments. This is Shopify's tap and chip reader, by the way. I did hear that this could be a bit spotty at times, so I did have a backup plan, which was to use tap to pay on iPhone. Shopify has this feature where you can hold up your iPhone and people could tap to pay their card like on the iPhone camera. But of course, tap to pay on iPhone was not working either during the event. As an emergency resort, I had to open up Zelle, but I wasn't even prepared to accept Zelle as a payment option. I didn't have like a QR code for people to scan my Zelle. And at first, I was just telling people like my phone number to Zelle me to, which was really unprofessional. So lesson learned, next time I'm also going to have a Zelle QR code ready, just in case my tap and chip reader is not working. And this next one is very basic, but make sure to triple check you have everything you need and to also practice your setup at home. It definitely saved me so much time to practice setting up the tables and canopy at home. I was already late to the event. I had less than an hour to set up because I forgot something at home. Luckily, because I did practice my setup at home, I was able to get my booth ready in time for the event. And yes, please triple check you have everything before you go to the event. I was at Yosemite the day before the event, which is roughly an 8-hour drive. I prepared everything before the Yosemite trip, just so I wouldn't have to worry about it after I got back from my trip. But yeah, I definitely should have triple checked because I left my canopy banner at home and I had to spend like another 25 to 30 minutes going back home to grab my canopy and go back to the event. For the second part of the question, which is how to plan a first market so it's not expensive, I would say to borrow as much as you can. Ask your neighbors, friends, family if they have extra tables, extra canopies, anything you need for your table setup. That's what I did for this event. My neighbors were so kind and let me borrow their tables and canopy. Obviously, if you're planning to do a lot of events, it'll be better if you invest in your own equipment. But if you're just trying it out for the first time, you can consider borrowing from friends and family. The canopy and tables would have cost me hundreds of dollars, so I'm very thankful to my neighbors for lending me their tables. The next question is, how did you pack everything and make sure they fit in your car? I have a compact sedan, so I was afraid I wouldn't be able to fit everything in there, but surprisingly I was able to fit 4 tables in there, a canopy, wagon, 2 bins, as well as a few bags and some smaller items. Since most of my products are small, I was able to fit everything I need inside one plastic bin. And then I had another plastic bin that was filled with plushies. But if you're limited on space, I would say try to focus on bringing the products that you think will sell the most. Try to pick products that you think will do well at that specific market. You don't have to bring every single product that you have. I personally didn't bring every single product that I have available on my online store. I have a lot of designs available on my website right now, so it would have been too much to bring every single design. And that concludes my first art market experience. This was overall a super great event. Everyone was so nice there and they were pretty respectful about my prices even though they're on the higher side. So overall, I would recommend this event to other people, but I highly recommend that you get a helper. I was planning to do this event on my own, but I'm so glad that my stepmom as well as friends helped out with my booth. I honestly don't think I could have done that event without any help. Setup time is different for everyone, but for me it started at 10 a.m. and the event officially ended at 5 p.m. And then after that, you also have to clean up and move all your stuff back to your car. So in total, you'll be outside for around 7 hours, which is a lot of time. And I think it's necessary to have someone else at your booth so that you can make time to eat and also use the restroom. If you're renting a 10 by 10 space, it's also a lot to set up the tables and canopy by yourself. So I highly recommend that you have someone who can help you out with your booth. I don't plan to be a regular in-person vendor. This is just something I want to do from time to time for fun. I did sign up for another event in June, and I'll tell you guys more about that event closer to the date. But yeah, I hope you guys found this video helpful if you're also planning to start going to in-person markets. My voice is starting to crack now, so this will be it for this video. But if you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments and I'll try my best to answer them. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys!